Anubis, my king. I know you are busy with your work, but you have a visitor in the throne room.
Another god come to pay me a visit, yes. That is fine. It is past Ra's peak, and although there is still quite a bit to be done today, I can afford a short break. Although I would much rather it be in solitude than entertaining royalty. I will have to go check on the girl soon in any case. She's been stirring all morning. However, I don't think she is yet awake. We will resume work when I've concluded business with my guest, and I've nourished myself with food and drink. Until then, clean up all the extra bandages, wrappings, sawdust, and tools. I will call you when I'm ready for the next set of sarcophagi to come down. As for this morning, mark down 18 worthy to be sent on to the afterlife, and 32 unworthy. Also, have the scrolls from the caskets of the unworthy brought to my chambers. I may have need of them at some point.
Yes, my king.
The scales did not work in favor for many today.
That is true, Lord Anubis. It seems to be becoming somewhat of a recurrence.
Somewhat. There have always been, and as far as I can tell, will always be more unworthy than there are worthy. It is easy for humans to hide their faults from one another, but when it comes to my realm, the scales do not lie. The scales know all, and will find the deepest kept secrets within every human heart. One's entire life is laid bare and weighed against the ostrich feather of truth. And if the heart is heavier than the feather, then we have done all we can, and it is out of our hands. It is only the worthy we need concern ourselves with afterwards. I will greet my guest in the throne room now. Get moving, whelp. Ra stops for neither man nor god.
Yes, sire.
I wonder who it could be that has come to visit me. It's not a special day of remembrance of the gods, so there's no real reason for a guest.
Mysteries all around you these days, wouldn't you say, Anubis, my friend?
My god Osiris, it is an honor to have you here. I humbly bow in your presence, and show my respect as a fellow god.
No need for formalities, Anubis. I know you and I are not on good terms these days, and that is all in well. However, I too will bow before you to show my respect.
I've had food and drink brought to the throne room. Please, take whatever you like. To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit today?
I see your attitude is still as black as your leathery skin. But I don't mind if I do. As for the reason behind my visit, Lord Anubis, I was just curious to know whether or not you had received my gift. I was truly hoping she would survive, so I came to check.
You. Osiris, you brought her here.
Yes, Anubis. At her point of death, she called out to me, and I heard her.
But why here, of all places? You know as well as I that the living do not belong here. This is a harsh place even for us gods, let alone a living human.
Is she? Still living, that is?
Yes, Lord Osiris. She's sleeping upstairs, recovering from some injuries, inflicted by who I can only assume was her master. I'll be checking on her when we have concluded our business here.
Well, Anubis, if you really want to know why I sent her here, I suggest we take a seat, and you let me tell you a little story about this human girl you have hidden away in your chambers.
Don't make it sound so insidious. I'm not trapping her. She's badly wounded. When she arrived, she could barely stand and only stayed conscious long enough for me to learn a few things about her. She's recovering. That is all. And keeping her out of sight keeps the assistants from being distracted, so to speak.
Ah, well, to her recovery then. Sit, my friend, and I will tell you the story of this little human and how she came to be here in your realm. There now. Now that we are both settled, let me tell you first, Lord Anubis, divine embalmer. The upper lands are not what we once knew, not by a long stone's throw. The language has changed. Wealth and privilege are coveted above almost all other things, to the point where humans have nearly forgotten the gods. They call to us in desperation, in great times of need, but otherwise, we do not play a role in the day-to-day matters of their lives. Yes, we still have our shrines and places of worship, some of which would dazzle even your eyes. But the respect is waning, and would probably be gone completely without this natural disaster or the other. Plague, famine, and my specialty, the flooding of the Great Nile, all bring great choruses of prayers and pleas. However, your little pet is not one of these false worshippers. She was only owned by one, but she herself was never tainted, never wished for power or wealth. She only did her job as was bid by her master. And do you know, Anubis, what her master did as a trade in the upper lands?
No, although I saw her master's mark branded behind her ear. I could not read it.
Ah, so you understand now about the language. Good. Your little pet upstairs was the slave girl of a master embalmer. That was his trade. I'm certain you've come across at least a dozen or so corpses that were embalmed by he and his assistants in the upper lands. Perhaps more. However, being a slave girl, she was not allowed to help in the actual embalming process. She fetched jars, bandages, wrappings, sawdust, all the things you have your little whelp scurrying around doing for you. These were things she did among the living. However, your pet is smart. She watched, and she learned, and she prayed to you, Anubis, every single day. However, Lord Anubis, her prayers went unanswered. You did not hear her, but I did. She saw that you were being fooled by your so-called worshippers, and she couldn't bear to deceive the gods she had devoted her entire life to. So she ran. She broke free of her collar and ran out into the sands, thinking if she were dead, perhaps you would finally hear her. However, she didn't run far enough. Her master sent searchers and found her after only half a day. I'm assuming her injuries are the result of that particular incident.
Slaves were never treated with such brutality when I was among the living, Osiris. Yes, they were bonded servants, but never starved, beaten, rarely even collared. Some were lucky enough to be even treated as family in particular cases. Have the living fallen so far?
They have fallen even further than you know, Anubis, and that is part of why your gift is here. You see, after she was caught, beaten, starved, and isolated for who knows how long, she was finally allowed to return to her work. But do you know what this determined, loyal, and, may I say, somewhat stupid human did? She ran. Again.
Again? But why? Surely she knew she would die in the desert, especially in her condition.
Because that is how devoted she is to her god, Anubis. To you. She walked the sands for a day and a half before the vultures started to circle, and when she finally fell and could no longer stand, could no longer move, when her mouth had turned to dust and she knew she would soon die, she called out. She called out to me, Osiris, the god of resurrection and ruler of the afterlife. And she called out to you. She called out to the god she had served her entire life, because she had a very important message for you. But you did not hear her. You have been in the underworld among the dead for so long those pointy ears have gotten stuffed with sand. Yes, the afterlife is my domain, but this particular realm, the realm of the embalmer, is yours. And it has been silent here for a very long time, Anubis. And since you didn't hear her, and her message was so important, I decided it would be best delivered in person.
So you sent her here to deliver a message in her current condition, when you knew we would not be able to communicate. Why? And why can't you just deliver the message yourself? You are a god. You have no limitations on where you go or when. And what do you mean by being fooled?
Because, Anubis, it is her message to give, not mine. There's too much you do not know about the upper lands. It has been too long since you've listened to your worshippers' prayers. And I thought you could use some entertainment. This pet of yours is special. She has found favor among the gods, or at least one of them. I was compassionate enough to let her live, and to bring her here to you, her great god Anubis. However, you are correct in one thing. Being able to communicate without knowing the new versions of the root language will be difficult for you. So I've brought you this. Catch.
What is this?
This is a key, so to speak, of how the root language has changed into what it is today. Can you read it?
The root language, yes. It may take some time to decipher the new form, but I've been saving a few scrolls from the unworthy for just that reason. What are these glyphs?
Oh, nothing too complicated. Just basic orders for any new pet. Just the necessities to get you two started. Yes, no, up, down, day, night, sit, stand, eat, drink, and your personal favorite, play dead.
She's displayed that particular attribute far too much already, Lord Osiris. You seem to think this is some sort of game, while my entire realm has been turned upside down by her arrival. I do not find your joke funny. However, I am grateful for this scroll. As absurd as it may be, it will help in some areas.
Good. Then in a day or so, I'm thinking you two should be able to have a proper, if somewhat cryptic, conversation. Oh dear. I think your pet is awake, Anubis. I hear her moving in your chambers, as I'm sure you do as well. Is it wise to let her roam your area so freely?
Yes, I hear her. She's been rustling around a bit all morning, but hasn't moved much due to her injuries, I'm assuming. As you know, she is quite weak, badly beaten, and can barely stand.
Well, she is moving now, Lord Anubis. I think she found the food you left for her. I'd bet a bag of gold coins she finishes everything you've set out before you can even replace it. You'd be wise to make sure she doesn't gorge herself and become ill.
You are correct, Lord Osiris. As a matter of fact, that was my next chore after our meeting had concluded. Why do I smell? What is she doing up there? She's bleeding. What in the name of the gods?
Oh, how much fun this should be, my friend. I think I shall tag along to see how the little pet is doing. Besides, since it was I who brought her here, she is somewhat my responsibility.
What are you doing, child? What have you done to yourself? You're bleeding all over the place. From where? Your arm? What is the meaning of this? A cup of your blood? Where are the bandages? Here, let me help you. Get that cup out of my face!
Anubis, stop! Now! Let me speak with her and explain the situation a bit. Then I must be on my way. Godly things and all.
Great god Osiris, I did not know you had followed me. What is she doing? Why has she done this to herself? Please tell her to stop.
Step aside and give me a moment to speak, dog. Then I can answer your questions. Hello there, child. You are so very good to bow yourself before me. You are indeed a pure follower.
What are you saying to her? I've never heard her speak before. What is she saying?
Well, first of all, she is honored and gives thanks for sparing her life. Appropriate. Secondly, she gives you thanks for the treating of her wounds. She is grateful.
Fine. But what about the cut on her arm? Why has she bled herself, and why does she keep insisting on shoving that cup in my face?
You don't even see it, do you, Anubis? You don't even see it, do you, Anubis? What is the first thing a devout follower does before accepting any gift from any god? Can you even remember the way we were treated in the Upper Lands so many years ago? What was always given before ever asking favor of the gods?
It is an offering.
You are correct, Lord Anubis. As she has no monetary wealth, no livestock to offer as sacrifice, this is her offering. It is all she has to give. And she also says she will not eat or drink or accept any further treatments to her wounds until you have accepted it.
Although I disagree with this particular offering, I understand why she has given it, and do not take offense. Can you convey to her that I apologize, as I did not understand, and that I will accept her offering with great thanks? If she's ever going to eat or drink, or recover in any way, I suppose I have no choice.
Of course, Lord Anubis. Please. Take the cup, Anubis, and drink it. Until she sees this, she will not eat or drink, and I can tell just by her speech that her strength is waning by the moment. Her eyes may hold determination, but her body is still very weak.
I suppose, if this is the only solution, it cannot be helped. An offering of this type does hold great power, especially given the trials she went through just to get here. What kind of blood is this? It tastes human, but with a slight animalistic undertone.
It is special blood, Anubis, and it holds a great magic within it. For you will find, the more you consume of her essence, the more of her world you will see. If you were to drain her dry, you could probably speak her language and know her entire culture by the end of the day.
I would never... What? What does that even mean?
I do not have time to explain further, my friend. Just know that those offerings are among some of the most sacred that we gods receive. Do not take them or their magic lightly. Now, I am off to the next task on my list. There is a particular part of the Nile that has failed to fill, and that is my specialty. I will be hearing songs and prayers in my name for weeks after this. Until next time, Lord Anubis.
What a pompous, ugly, green-skinned dung beetle. Oh, child, are you all right? Let me see your arm. It is good that I caught you in time, or you would have lost consciousness again. What? What did you say? I understood part of it. Again. Speak again, child. I understood you. Or at least some of what you said. This must be the so-called magic in your blood. Of course, only Osiris would think to concoct an arduous and completely unnecessary scheme. The more of your blood I drink, the more of your language I can understand. I'm assuming it works both ways. You are nodding, so I'm taking that as a yes. Here is your water, child. No, slowly, lest you make yourself ill. That's better. Can you understand me yet? Ah. That is the word for some, or in part. No long conversations for today, then. But that is fine. Let me get out this scroll. What's the glyph for eat again? Ah, here it is. Yes, child. You may eat. Please, drink as well. I have more work to do, but first, a bandage for your arm. Here, let us clean it with water first. Now, the bandage. Carefully. There we go. Now, I'm off to work among the dead. You stay here and rest. Eat, drink, and no one will bother you. Sleep more as you need it. Do you understand? Again with the in part. You get the idea then. You are such a devout child. And for that, I'm grateful. The situation, however, could be a bit easier if Osiris didn't so enjoy being such a giant thorn in my side. Wherever that green-skinned god goes, some sort of disaster is almost sure to follow. Now here, let me tuck you in. On your stomach again. Your bruises look like they're still very painful, but only time can change that. And with that, I must leave you. I have work to do until Ra is at rest. I will be listening and can hear great distances, so if you are in need of anything, well, how do I convey to her to just speak and I will hear her? Whistling. I see. If you need anything, you will whistle. That is good. Now, rest again, child, and I will see you again when Ra sleeps and the moon god begins his travels across the sky. Yes, child, of course. I promise to come back. I will not leave you here alone in the dark. You have my word.